All right, what's going on, OMFL? This is Cincy and Hurt with Down and Distance, episode 2, where we talk about the, interesting things going on in OMFL. We got some key stats, maybe some key standings, key games being scheduled, and maybe a couple other surprises. We actually have a special guest tonight, and Big Hurt's going to tell you about who it is.
What's up, OMFL? We're happy to have our guest with us. We've got Maniac, who's a longtime OMFL owner. He has had his time away, but he has still been a part of it. As Nate has mentioned in the off season, he put his time in and helped us kind of get back to where we are, rolling and getting along our ways to being able to play again. So we appreciate Maniac's help, and we appreciate him joining us tonight to kind of give us a little outside looking in insight, as he is not currently an owner, but he does pay attention pretty closely to a lot of the games being played. So we're happy to have him. Welcome, Maniac.
Hey, Big Hurt, thanks for having me. Looking forward to getting on with the show. There's some big things happening in OMFL, a lot of things going on, some surprises, definitely, and can't wait to start talking about some of this stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once again, we're happy to have you here. Since you already kind of talked to a little bit about what we cover each show, so we're gonna kind of throw a little curveball here, and we're gonna start right away with our version, what we call Shake, Rattled, and Rolled. Shake, Rattled, and Rolled is going to be somewhat a little bit about like buy it or not, who's hot, who's not. But again, it's our version. So hopefully you can follow along. And I'm going to let Maniac start off since he is the outside looking in, and we're going to get his opinion first. So, Maniac, go ahead and give us your thoughts on the Shake, Rattled, and Rolled.
Okay, so like the shake, rattle, and rolled, basically, your shakers and movers in the OMFL compared to your teams that are rattled, and then those that have already basically been rolled. Um, Shakers, we're looking for teams that are surprising everyone right now. And if you look at my surprises for the shake version of this, you first off you got to look at the Saints. With Nate, Saints are 7-1, and the Saints are on a roll. His defense is stellar, and you just cannot go wrong with the Saints there for being your shakers in the OMFL. And then on the AFC side, I've got my shaker being the Chiefs. I just watched a little bit of his game, and his offense is clicking, man. He's got a very solid offense, a good balance of run and pass, and his rookie receiver that he's got over there. Um, I had to pull it up and look, but he has just been on fire. It seems like every pass that he was making, the guy was open, and it just you can't go wrong with that. I think it's Pyramid. I think is his name. Yeah, 62
Yep.
receptions, 4 touchdowns. The guy's just phenomenal.
Absolutely. And then what do you got for your Rattled?
Okay, so the rattled is the teams that are kind of on the cuff. They're not exactly out of it, but they are rattling and about to take the tumble if they don't watch it. And so the Dolphins it would be my first team on this list. The Dolphins are right now currently 4-4. They're struggling to get anything really going this season. I know he was in the playoffs, I believe, last season, and but it just seems like that things have not went quite the way that the Dolphins wanted. Massimo definitely has got his work cut out for him to keep this team afloat, keep them from rolling. So there's still another 5, 6, 7 weeks in the season, so we'll see what happens there. The other big surprise in the rattle department is the Browns and Denver, 4-4. That's a shocker. He is doing pretty well on the. I did notice that Deshaun Watson still has some pretty good stats for his team, but definitely the thing that I think is hindering the Browns right now, he cannot get his running game going, so he's definitely rattled and not looking good going into the playoffs. And then the last but not least is, I'm afraid to say it, but the Chicago Bears, uh, 4-5 right now. Man, big hurt. I don't know what happened. I know we were talking big up on your team in the off season, and on paper that team looked really sharp, and I thought you were gonna make some shaking happen in the OMFL, but it didn't. It didn't happen so far, and I think you're on the cuff of being rolled. And moving on into the rolled side of the shake, rattle, and roll is the Jaguars. This team's out of it, 1-8. I know he played. I think Bill pretty close the last game. I think Bill had to pull that out with a field goal. So that was probably his best performance besides the win that he had so far in the season. Um, but yeah, you can call it in Jacksonville land here. It's done for. And the other two teams I got, Chargers from the AFC West, 2-6. Pepper, um, it's he's had some struggles, and I know from past experience, Pepper is his own worst enemy. So it starts getting into his head, and things just start crumbling. So he's in the road department and waiting for next season in the off season to see if he can right the ship. And then also my last road is the whole NFC South besides the Saints. So that division is just um, that is a wash. So they're all rolled. I can't say anything more about them that would just insult them anymore. But they're done for.
Yeah, you got some definitely good insight there, and we're gonna get Cincy's view of his shake, rattle, and roll.
All right, so my shake, rattle, and roll. I'm gonna start on a high note here. We're gonna start with the shake, and I talked about him a little bit on the first show, and he's still going in a positive move, I think. From a few weeks into the season till about mid-season now, or what are we, week 9, week 10, something like that. I'm gonna go with the flightless bird. I'm gonna go Penguins. That's my silent pick to win the bowl. So I think he's shaking things up. I think he's going to take atop the NFC over there and make a little run. Uh, he's got a big game coming up this week, but we'll see what happens with that. My rattle team. That's what's going on. I'm gonna go with Seattle on this. They're sitting at 5-4. They started off strong. Everybody was on Seattle. We thought Meek might have figured it out, and some said he might give D Money a run. I mean, I don't know what they were smoking, but we can all laugh about it now that he's 5-4. But he might have calmed down. Not quite figured out what's going on. I don't know if he's figured out what's going on, but there are a couple key pieces to his team that aren't performing. His quarterback, we had high hopes for him. Nate was talking him up in Breast Pass Live, but past couple games he has calmed down a bit. Turning the ball over at a higher ratio. That's definitely a disaster for losses there. But we'll see if Seattle can turn it around. But we don't really know what's going on there. We'll see if he can save his season here with a couple big weeks coming up. And then my my roll team is going to be down here. Where are they? The Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are my roll team. I'm kind of shocked that Kevin's sitting here at 1-8. I know Maniac touched up on the South, but I'll just dig a little deeper here. He let go of his safety blanket, Mike Evans, and honestly, I think that was a huge factor for him in his offensive production. He just doesn't have that same way to move the ball, and he's just not getting quarterback production, just not overall. Um, there's lack of getting turnovers on defense, so I just think Kevin needs to regroup and come back strong for season 105.
All right. Well, appreciate the insight there on your insight and your views there. And I'm going to kind of flip things. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up and end on a high note. My rule teams, I have a few that could go in this category, and I'm just going to kind of touch base on the one, but and give kind of an honorable mention for a few. I also have the NFC South outside the Saints there. I really had high hopes for Atlanta and Tampa Bay and Carolina this season, and they just haven't performed like I thought. I thought that division was going to be a close one until the end, and Nate is running away with it in New Orleans. So I have the NFC South there, and then I have the Vikings, the Jaguars, and Chargers and Patriots. But the one team that I'm going to throw in my role is the Jaguars. I thought the Jaguars had a chance to compete for at least an AFC playoff spot. Maybe give. I had said in the draft show that I thought the Colts would be kind of a team to watch out for this year. They had a really good draft. I thought they put a solid roster together, and I just thought the Jags. Duvall takes over a team that's his team. He had a deep running back room, and I just really thought that he would be able to do his thing, and it has not happened. With the Jaguars sitting, I think, at 1-8, that is just, not where I thought they would be. So that's kind of my rolled team. My rattled teams I had were Cleveland, Arizona, and, as Maniac said, the Bears. I am disappointed how my season is going. I kind of bounced back the last week and got a big win, but I still am chasing the Lions and the Packers, who are playing on a high note right now. So I am on the verge of being a ruled team, I feel like, unfortunately. And then, as Maniac mentioned with Cleveland, I just think the trade of Nick Chubb and the running game, he's trying to figure that out. He did make, some moves by drafting a few running backs in the draft last season, but it's just, hasn't played out to where he feels like he's comfortable with the running game. But my rattle team is Arizona. I thought Arizona was just going to be a team. Bird's a solid player. I've played him in the TFL. I've played him in the OMFL. He's a solid player, both sides of the ball. I actually played him in the TFL playoffs, and he just, plays solid defense and mixes that up on offense, and I just haven't seen that. His offense has been really inconsistent, and it's kind of a shock because he's got a good receiving core. He's got Tony Pollard, which I felt like Arizona was kind of lacking a running game, and he added Tony Pollard, so I was like kind of expecting him to be able to do his thing on offense, and Arizona's got a good defense, lots of athletic ability, and we just haven't seen that. So that's my rattle team is the Cardinals.
Well,
and then my shake.
One second here. I wanted to stop you on this key stat that I saw here. So maybe the problem is with the Cardinals is his two tackles have allowed 16 sacks on the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little recipe for disaster.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And then, so the shake, and I had a couple teams here. I had Houston, the Giants, and Buffalo. Buffalo's kind of shaking some things up by establishing himself as a front runner in the AFC. And I think, along with the Colts, I kind of gave the Jets a lot of props as being a top team in the AFC. But Bill is, made sure that last season the AFC Championship game appearance is no fluke. And he's 7-2, sitting there strong again. And then the Giants been a huge surprise. I kind of put my own foot in my mouth after the last call out. I just said I wasn't buying it. I felt like he was in a division with the Commanders, who I thought were going to run away with it. D. Wayne's started off slow, kind of bounced back a little bit. But here's Colin playing pretty well with his week 10 win after the advance tonight. He's now 7-2, sitting pretty strong. So pretty impressive. But my team that's a shaker right now, and I'm going in the moment, is the Houston Texans. Rodgers won 3 games in a row and has a chance to get another big win this week. And I just think Rodgers kind of finding his way. We'll see how long it lasts, but he is probably the hot team right now, of teams of surprise. So he's kind of shaking some things up. I think he's a game and a half or something, maybe a game and a half out of the South. So I mean, still lots of football left to play. But I think Rodgers finding a way. He's got a game against the Chiefs, who are playing pretty good ball this week. So we'll see if Rodgers can continue to shake things up with the Texans. So I got the Texans as my team as a shaker. With that, kind of wrapping up our shake, rattle, and roll. I want to see if you guys have a couple teams, no more than a couple, maybe just one, or like I said, a couple, that would be teams to watch out to bust some schedules. We see a few teams at the bottom of the NFC or the AFC or even divisions, and as these races are playing out, and do you see a team or two that you feel like could just bust a few teams' schedules, kind of like how Rodgers won a few games here? Could that happen in the back half of the season in the OMFL and just kind of really hurt a team's chance to make the playoffs? I'm going to let you go ahead and start with that, Cincy.
A team to bust a couple bubbles here. There's It's hard to call that. That's one of the hardest things to call because you just don't know how they're going to perform at the end of the year. They could be, maybe watching draft spots or, just not in it at the end because they're out of it. But a team that I can see is Tim. Tim and the Rams. He's got a few wins here. I'm not sure. He's maybe 1 game under 500 or 2 games. He's got a couple tough games here coming up with the 49ers and Lions. But, with his gameplay style, his defensive line keeps him in every single game. He's just got to figure out the offense. And I think he can bust a couple late schedules here. So he's got a late bye week in week 14. He's got the Chiefs and the Dolphins and the Packers, week 15, 16, and 17. And I think all 3 of those teams are going to be fighting for potential playoffs. Even the Dolphins going for a wild card, Chiefs going for the West, and the Packers going for the North with the Lions there. I think he can bust something up and maybe take 2 of those games. But that's just what I say. I think Tim's going to stay plugged in and try and figure it out because I think he really wants to make a run at it for season 105. I know he was looking at 104, but he just doesn't quite have the offense there. He's got Cup. He was hurt for a little bit. The problem is when Cup's not producing, he's really not producing as a team. He needs to figure out his run game. He needs to figure out his tight end position. He needs to figure out second and third receivers. What's he going to do at quarterback? He's paying a guy a 70 overall, $40 million. So there's a couple question marks on offense. I think he just needs to wrap that up and then he can figure it out for next season. But I think he can steal a couple wins late in the season.
Nice. Well, there you have it from Cincy. His team is the Rams, led by Tim. Maniac, go ahead and give us your team or 2 teams that you see that could bust some schedules here.
Well, the 2 teams I'm looking at, I just can't just go with one, so I got to go with 2. But from the NFC, I'm looking at the Bears. I'm going to have to give you props here because your offense, you're scoring about 24 points a game. That's 19th. That's a little less than, or a little bit more than half of the league. But you're actually eighth in the league in yards, 20th in passing, but you're fourth in rushing. And you've played most of your schedule, except for a couple of games. You've played pretty close. So I think you're going to play spoiler in your own division with either the Packers or the Lions, possibly. That because I know they're kind of coming down to the wire, so you may kind of help play uh, the tiebreaker and whatever those come down to in the end. You've had some good stats defensive wise. You're sixth in passing. It just didn't come together for you, but I definitely see you as a squad that could be one of those busters. And on the AFC side, I've got the Raiders actually pegged. He's kind of similar in the situation. He's not quite as good on defense as you are, but his offense is pretty stellar. It's 26 points, 14th in the league, 11th in yards, 19 yards, in passing yards. He's got a prolific passing attack with his rookie quarterback that he's got. Um, I can't think of his name, but I was watching his game earlier, and he was actually doing pretty good at Carter, and he was doing pretty good with him. He still struggles, I think, when because obviously it's rookie. He may have some issues there with the um, under pressure and stuff, but that's pretty impressive. And I think he could come down to play spoiler in the AFC West or the AFC side when it comes to playoff finals.
Nice, nice. So, well, I appreciate the shout out. Now, hopefully, I can do something of some good since the season's pretty much over for the Bears, I feel like. But I'm not giving up hope yet. I'm going to see if I can get a couple more wins here and at least keep myself in the wild card race, but we'll see. For my teams, I do have two teams that I feel like could be some spoiler and bust some schedules here at the end of the season here. And I've got two teams sitting in the NFC. I just think the NFC, we've talked about it in the previous shows. Sorry, Denbrew. I know you don't like me not talking about the AFC, but I just feel like the NFC's wild card race is going to be tough, and I feel like these two teams are going to really have a big factor in it. I've got the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. I feel like Seattle at the beginning, we were, as Cincy said, we all were like, wow, Meeks figured this out, and whatnot. These last couple of weeks, he's struggled. In his last 5 games, he's 1-4, and he's lost to the Jets, the Rams twice, and the Cardinals, and then beat the Falcons. And obviously, the Falcons are a win-win team. So he's struggled here as late. But to finish out this season, week 10, he's got a game against the Chargers, which I feel like he should get a win there. And then he has a bye week. But here's the stretch where I feel like he has a couple of games that stand out. Week 12 against the Bills, as the Bills and the Jets are kind of pushing for that AFC East. Seattle could play a spoiler and push Bill in to the loss column there and maybe give Kobe a chance to take the lead in the AFC East. And then he also has a big game with the Dolphins, which the Dolphins could be in a wild card race if Massimo can figure some things out. And that's a Week 17 matchup. And then as Maniac mentioned, Trey and Priest are both having their battle there for the NFC North. And Meek in Seattle has a Week 18 matchup with the Detroit Lions. So if things do come down to the end, Seattle has a very good chance of playing spoiler and knocking Trey into the wild card, or I definitely see Green Bay and Detroit making the playoffs, one winning and one getting the wild card. But he could, flip things from winning the division to a wild card if things play out that way. So Seattle is my one team, and then the Vikings. I think we can all say that I feel like Santa is a player that can, obviously play good ball. He has struggled. I thought he was going to be better than what he has been, but he's got a couple games on his schedule that really stand out. I mean, the Niners, I don't see him beating the Niners, but the Texans are on a roll. He has a Week 13 game against them, Week 14 against Seattle, Week 15 against the Lions, Week 16 against the Cardinals if the Cardinals stay hot. Week 17 against the Saints. I don't see him losing, but maybe, changes some momentum for the Saints heading into the playoffs. So Santa could, definitely shake some things up and play a spoiler as he could maybe knock the Saints down from a top seed and to a 3-4 seed or something like that as things play out. That's week 17, a lot of football left to play. But I definitely have the Vikings and the Seahawks as my two teams to shake some things up here in the second half of the OMFL. Let's go ahead and roll into, as we're talking about some of these lower win total teams, our next topic. Nate's going to hate this topic, but we're going to talk about it.
Start it up.
We all like what, we like to call the elephant out in the room. Tanking or not tanking. Nate likes to do the, who's hot, who's not, buy it, love it, whatever it was on the Valentine's Day special. We're going to talk about the flip side, tanking or not tanking. Who has thrown the towel in and already looking forward to next season, and who's, even though they may not be in a playoff race, who's still trying to figure some things out and compete and shake some things up. So I'm going to go ahead and list off some teams, and I'm just going to, rapid fire here. And Cincy and Maniac, you just give me tanking or not tanking. First team up we have is the Minnesota Vikings.
Not tanking.
I'm going to go with not tanking also.
All right, I also agree. I think Santa's not tanking. Next team we have is Tampa Bay with Kevin.
Yeah, I'm going to go with... I got to go tank. He's got one win. It's versus the struggling, Falcons, but I don't know how Kevin only has one win.
Well, I know I'm not like all in the league like you guys, and I've known Kevin for a while. I just don't see him tanking, so I'm gonna say I'm on the fence on this one. So I'm not gonna commit either way or the other, but I don't see him. I'm leaning more to the not.
Okay. I have him not tanking. I feel like the loss of Mike Evans changed his offense, and then he had a couple early games that were tough, and then he lost Chris Godwin and Vita Vea when he played me, and I just think he's been like trying to find his way. So I have him not tanking. Atlanta, which is Bronco Man. I think he came in last season. But yeah, Atlanta Falcons at 1-8 or 1-7. 1-8.
Yep, I got him, Bronco Man, at not tanking. He's just trying to find his way in the league here.
Yeah, I'll go with the not tanking as well because I remember whenever I first came into the league, I don't think I had 2 wins the first couple of seasons that I was playing. I actually remember very well the Steelers, and I sucked. And so, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, not tanking.
As much as I want to say tanking because he had a huge offseason, he has Kyle Pitts, signs Derrick Henry, and I'm like, wow, this guy's going to have a monster season. NFC South wide open, and I'm like, yep, he's tanking. And then I realize this is his first full season in the MFL. And I think it's just an adjustment when you come into the OMFL. The talent level's there. It's a certain style of play. You have to mix things up, and it's just an adjustment when you come from ranked play to the OMFL or whatever. So I got him with that. I think he's just trying to kind of find his way and his rhythm and his groove, and so he's not tanking. Next team is the Philadelphia Eagles. Twinkie.
All right, Twinkie. I got Twinkie as just a struggling bird here. He's gonna get it figured out, but yeah, I just think he just lost a couple steps here this season.
Well, I've known Twinkie because he played in the Deuce and also in the OMFL before I left the last time, and I think he likes draft picks. I don't know. I think there may be some sense of taking a little bit because he seems to love drafting the up early and getting the all those star players and stuff.
He's a builder who likes to build this team. I could see that. I definitely think that I would expect him to be better because I do think he's building his team, but I also think he's in one of the tougher divisions, especially with a down Dwayne struggling out of the gate. But now back to 5-3, Colin at 7-2, and then Penguins at 8-1. That's a tough 6 games every year right there. So I don't have him tanking, but I didn't think he would be 2-7. So, but I don't have him tanking. Next team we have is the Arizona Cardinals with Bird 33.
All right, Bird. I have Bird as not tanking. He's just trying something a little different this season other than last season. We thought, maybe he could do something well this season, but I think he just, fell on his face with the adjustments that he tried to do for this season, and he's got to figure out plan B and not the pill.
Well, for my part on Bird, I just think that he's running to a guy over there by the name of D Money, and he's just got that division on lockdown, and it's just tough sledding. And I don't think he's tanking, but might not be a bad idea. I'm just saying.
Yeah. The Cardinals are kind of like, I feel like one of those teams, maybe the pressure, just cracked under the pressure. I think Bird's like a solid player. Like I've played him a number of times, and I was shocked to see him, struggling out of the gate as much as he was. But yeah, I just think it was a sense of kind of cracked under pressure and trying to figure out his offense and rhythm. And I don't have him tanking. I just have him struggling. And he is, the last couple weeks, he beat me and gave Trey a game tonight. So, yeah, I definitely don't have him tanking. Next is Black Cats, I believe. Is his name with the Carolina Panthers?
Carolina,
Yep.
Carolina.
Yeah, Black Cats is definitely struggling this year. But he's had a lot of one possession games. He's gotten blown out by the Saints once, but pretty much all the rest of his games have been pretty close. I just think he's a piece or two from figuring it out, and a piece or two in the NFC South can get you from the bottom to the top, I think, in any given season.
Just from the standpoint of making this interesting. Okay, if he's got the stats that he's only lost a couple or most of his games like within a drive or two, that could bring suspicions up for tanking. I'm just throwing it out there. But knowing the guy, he was on the Deuce board at the time when I was serving on there with him. Uh, I don't think he's tanking, but just for the sake of the show, yes.
Trying to spice some things up. I like it. Well,
Spicy.
I don't know. I hate to say and put my finger on it saying, yes, this guy's tanking, because then I feel like I'm putting a negative mark on him. And I just don't, like, I have...
Somebody's got to say it. Somebody's got, we can't all say no, that's the part of the segment. We got to spice it up. We got to, that's just...
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying is, like, I have a lot of respect for the Panthers owner and Black Cats. I've one of the guys that's just been genuine every time I play him, plays clean and whatnot. where I'm gonna go with this is I'm gonna have him tanking, but I just think it's because he started off slow and got a loss against the Saints, and Nate's just been on fire. And I think he, kind of was like, oh, I've got time to figure things out. And now it's like, I'm 4 or 5 games back. And I just don't think he's feeling like the NFC wildcard is an option. And so I have him tanking. I just feel like he's going to retool and try and pick some things up. And knowing that Nate's just kind of like shot out of the cannon out of the gate, and 7-1, playing really good football defensively. And I had him like not tanking, but now I feel like he's maybe going into tanking mode, just to try and kind of retool and fire things back up for next year. Next team is Lost Sniper and the New England Patriots.
All right, old Lost. He's currently on vacation right now. Hopefully he's enjoying his weekend. But I'm gonna say he's just struggling. I mean, he's got Bill in his division who's tough as nails, and the Jets spent a little money this off season, and Kobe's got his team rolling. So I just think he's in a tough pickle here, and he's just got to figure out his way. And yeah, no tanking there.
I'm gonna pull a little sniper action here on sniper, and he's saying because I played him in the deuce, and the dude was like, he just like beat the brakes off me. It could have been that he was the 49ers too in the deuce, but he's only scoring 17 points a game right now in the OMFL, giving up 32. Uh, I know from experience when your team is doing bad and you start looking at some of your roster. I mean, it was always hard to tank because you want to be competitive, but it starts crossing your mind. Like for the better of my team, it might be the best thing to do. And I just with the way he played me the other day, and I have really stunk at this game so far, Madden 23. So that says a lot too. But I just think that at this point in time, with where he sits in that division, I think he's in full blown tank mode. So, sniper, I just sniped you from 300 yards, man. So,
All right, Lost Sniper here. I don't know. I don't think Lost. I just don't think he has it in him. He's so competitive, and I just don't think he's taking it all. The thing that stands out, and I was looking at the numbers the other day, and I think like defensively, if I remember right, he is like last, and total yards. Oh, I can't even talk there. Total yards allowed. He's dead last in the AFC, and I don't even know. He's like fourth to last in the OMFL. Um, I think he's just struggling, and then offensively, I think he has if I remember right, fewest points scored for, something like that. But yeah, he's just struggling both sides of the ball, giving up a lot of yards, and then not really able to figure it out on offense. And I think that's just a recipe for disaster. So I think he's just struggling, and I think he'll be back soon. Next team, Pittsburgh. Outlaw.
Old Outlaw. What can I say about Outlaw? I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. He's not tanking at all. He's excelling. He's got 2.5 wins. He's ecstatic about his team. Yeah, he's not tanking at all.
yeah, I don't see him tanking either. I did see him in the chat the other day. He was pretty excited about his team. 2-6 with the one tie, and he's putting up 21 points a game and only allowing 27 points. So he's in every game, offensively and defensively. And I think he's even got one of the top defensive players in the league right now with 15 sacks with Watt. So he's definitely figured maybe some things out on defense a little bit. Maybe that's giving him some hope. So definitely not tanking.
Yeah, I don't have him tanking either. I just think he needs to figure out. He got Zach Wilson thinking that was going to be the answer, and that's not the answer. Statistically, it shows, but defensively, he has played well, getting after the quarterback and whatnot. So I think I'll has Little Koch and Denver and Nipples, tough division. But yeah, not tanking. Next, we have the Jay Ballas led Raiders.
Jay Bowles. I just think Jay Bowles is missing some pieces here. I was chatting with him a couple weeks ago, just catching up with him, and yeah, he missed in the draft. He's got a young quarterback, so he's only got one pass rusher. I just think he's struggling right now to find his way, and I don't think he's tanking at all.
Yeah, I don't see him tanking either. I watched the game that he played earlier. Um, he, he was getting the breaks beat off of him, I think, by the Chiefs, and but he was still uh, fighting to the end. He was throwing. His quarterback was just missing like every pass, like any pressure. His quarterback was throwing it like 15 yards out of bounds. So, and I know from being in the AFC West before, uh, playing those guys, Jay Bowles is very competitive, and I don't ever see him tanking.
Yeah, I have to agree here. I think Jay Ballas is just struggling. I have not seen Jay Ballas be a threat since I think it was last Madden or so when he had Khalil Mack on the Raiders. He was a force then. I thought he would be a lot better, being that he came in with Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and then defensively having Chandler Jones and what's his name, Max Crosby. I thought he would have a couple guys off the edge, and Chandler Jones and Crosby are just not getting it done, surprisingly. And so I think he's just kind of lost and not sure what is the left foot before the right foot before the left foot. He just can't figure that out. But once he does, watch out. Next team is Pepper, led Chargers.
Pepper. What an interesting year he's having. Yeah, for the sake of D&D, I gotta go with Tank. I mean, he's got 2 wins. We could say, oh, he's struggling, but it's against the Buccaneers and the Falcons as his 2 wins. So, I mean, what the heck's going on versus the other games? This guy's usually in the playoffs probably 9 out of 10 times. So, yeah, it's a little fishy. I'm going to go with the old Tankaroo.
Well, the history that Mr. Pepper and I have had playing in the NFC East with him being the Giants and me being the Cowboys, from the guy that has broken more kickers' legs and given more concussions to kickers after extra points. Um, I kind of think he's tanking at this point. Maybe just what, I'm in last place, and let's just see what I can get in the draft. And so I'm going with tanking.
Interesting. Let's see. Pepper is one of those guys that stands out as I just feel like elite offensive minded player, owner in this league. I remember when he literally just could throw the ball at will. And then he's got the Chargers defense with like Bosa and Khalil Mack. Coach, obviously, he traded Mack over, and I got to deal with him twice a year in Detroit. But he's got Bosa, he's got Derwin James, he's got all these guys, and I'm just kind of lost. Like 2 wins, like since he said, I don't know how Pepper doesn't find at least a 500. I know he had a sim loss against the Ravens, so taking that away, but his other losses, the Browns, week 1 by 3, okay. Chiefs by 9, okay. But then he loses to the Chiefs again 2 weeks later by 14, then gets smacked by the Bengals by 25, loses to the Saints, and here we are, and it's like, I don't know. I just feel like Pepper, it just shocks me. So I'm going to say tanking. I know that he's probably looking at like a high-end receiver that's younger. He's got the quarterback and Herbert locked up, and yeah, I don't know. I think Pepper is better than that. I don't think he wants to tank, but I think maybe he's just struggling and threw the towel in and is like looking forward to next year already. So I'm gonna say tanking. Um, Last two teams, and I'll just throw them both out there to wrap this up, is the AFC South. We have the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, little double whammy in the South. Um, Honestly, I'm gonna say, Tennessee. They, I think they're lost without Derrick Henry. He's trying to figure more of a passing style on offense, and it's just not working. Um, Maybe trying to go a little cheap at running back, but nah, I just think he's struggling. And Jacksonville, he's he's interesting. He gave me a run. Came down to the final what? Final last 2 weeks, I believe, last season for the division last year. He gave me a nice run. Um, I got him by a hair, but this year, I mean, he had a couple FPR issues in the beginning, but I feel like he's hashed that out, and he should be rolling some wins. But I mean, he's only beaten Lost Sniper. He's got 1 win on the year. That's crazy. And he's had definitely some games where he could have, where he should have won. He was definitely the favorite. So I'm gonna go with, we're gonna tank down all the way to Duval County. He's trying to get that high draft pick.
All right, so the Titans, I believe, is manned by the Truth, and yeah, I think he's just struggling a little bit. He's got you know um, he's actually put up 19 points, but given up 24. So I think he's been in games. He's won 3 games, and like Cincy pointed out, I definitely think he's missing his big man Henry in the backfield. When you have that on a certain team for so long, and then it's not there, and then you don't feel it quite the way it should be. I think that the following season you kind of find yourself in like I think I goofed up, and that's probably where he's at right now. So I think he's still trying to figure things out. So we'll see what happens as the season progresses. Uh, but I'm also following suit with Cincy on this one. Jaguars, Duval. Um, the dude was in the playoffs last year, was fighting, I mean, tooth and nail, whatever, um, to the very end. And then this year he's 1-8. Um, I just see it, what had a little FPR issue, like since he was saying, and got down early, and in this division he's already, just 1 win, 8 losses. He's in full tank mode.
Interesting. Titans, Mr. Truth. I feel like you shipped Old Faithful out and had no plan to replace that man. Hassan Haskins, solid back. I actually reached out to see if you were trading him at one point, and you even said yes. And I was like, wow. And I just feel like Haskins is maybe a year or two away from taking over the starting role. I wanted to use him as a backup with Kareem Hunt until I got James Cook. But getting Cook basically kind of took me out of the running to get him. And So I look at your stats here. Haskins leading the roll and the load and the carries for the backfield for the Titans, and he's doing all right. Nothing special, not Derrick Henry. And then I look at your receivers and Mr. Ogletree. Yeah, decent numbers, but nothing like a number one type of guy. And then the old vet Robert Woods has no touchdowns. Your tight end, Mr. DeGuerra, or I think is how you pronounce it. I know he's pretty lowly rated. Jalen Tolbert, which was a trade guy that you got for Traylon Burks. I think that was a big mistake moving Burks early on in the season. I know Dwayne got his boy from Arkansas, but I felt like that was the guy to replace A.J. Brown for you. And I just feel like you haven't found that go-to guy, and you had it in Traylon Burks if you would have kept him. And you haven't found that replacement in the draft. And then, like we just mentioned, you shipped Derrick Henry out. So that's the recipe to kind of give you your struggles. I know you started off like the season well by getting a win against Cincy in the first time go around, and then the second time I think Cincy came back and beat you. But long story short, I do not have you tanking. I just have you not knowing what your offense is and not really having the personnel. Moving on to Jacksonville. Oh, Duvall. I don't know how to say this other than you have the premium back in Mr. Ben Morris that was handed to you when you took over this team, and you have completely shut this team down, 1-8. Trevor Lawrence is like top of the league in passing yards, but then you look at numbers for passing touchdowns to interception ratio, and it's just like you're throwing it whether the guy's there or not, the defense. And so I don't know. Like, I feel like you are tanking just to be like, I'm going to give him all the yards in the world, but 7 touchdowns, 20 picks. Either you need to change up your play call, build your playbook, strategize a little bit more. And Mr. Ben Morris only averaging 3.5 yards per carry. I'm going to question how. The guy's like a stud running back, and only averaging 3.5 yards. Kind of confusing. So I got you in tank mode. The next segment is kind of piggybacking off of the tanking or not, is of all of those teams we just talked about, what is one or two teams that you think could easily turn their season around and be a playoff either division winner or guaranteed wildcard team for next season? Maniac, we'll go ahead and start with you.
My first team that I'm going to say it would be the Panthers. I think that if he gets the right draft pick, gets a good offseason going for himself, I see him turning that around really quickly. I know that he's got the capabilities of making deep runs, and that I think with
Did we lose him?
Ooh, I think we might have lost our special guest.
Mr. Maniac, are you still with us? We have lost him. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and pause here until he gets back in and catches back up with us. Cincy, go ahead and give us your two teams that you feel like could, one or two teams that could flip things around for next year.
All right. I believe my man that I said was tanking, Mr. Cavill, who's probably playing Call of Duty right now, didn't invite me, but I'm going to say the Buccaneers. I'm going to stay in that NFC South because I think that's split wide open. And even though old Nate's running away with it right now, in a blink of an eye, it can be changed for next season. I think he's got a young quarterback, Steve Ryder, who's he's gonna ride to the NFC South next year. You know, Fournette, I think he's going to let him go. White's going to take a bigger role next year. He's going to get a compliment back in the off season, and then he's going to go ahead and try and find another receiver to help out Godwin there. That bigger guy, obviously he's not going to get Evans back, but someone to that caliber maybe, and I think that will turn his team around. I mean, I see nothing but positives for Kevo in season 105.
Yeah, interesting. I definitely think Kevin has a strong case to bounce back. I also think, as Maniac was talking before he kind of lost connection, hopefully he can get back with us here shortly. But I definitely think the Panthers also have a strong case. My team that I have to bounce back for next season, I'm actually going to give it to two teams, and I'm going to do one NFC and one AFC. My AFC team is Pepper. I think Pepper, as I said, is a strong, elite offensive-minded player, owner, and I think he's got the team to do it. The division, Shocks is running away with it right now, but Jade Glaze, Jay Bowles, Pepper, it's a strong division, but I just think Pepper, like if I recall, didn't he start off undefeated through 10 or 11 weeks or something like that in the first season, this man?
Yeah, I believe he started off very strong. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I just think he could easily bounce back and be in the running for a playoff spot, winning that AFC West pretty easily. A few additions if he is trying to figure out his offense and defense. I just don't think he's far off, and he's strong, minded and good play caller. So I got the Chargers in the AFC. Then my NFC team, I was kind of stuck because I feel like any team in the NFC South could bounce back and at least be a wild card or a division winner, depending on how Nate plays. His defense is playing so well this year. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to the other team in the South. So as you guys have already talked about the two, I'm going to give it to the Falcons. I truly think that he's got the 1-2 punch, and with Derrick Henry in the backfield, Kyle Pitts is his tight end. He's got the outside receivers in Calvin Ridley and Darnell Mooney, and then he added Juju Smith-Schuster. Desmond Ridder, younger quarterback, if he figures out the offensive line and the defense, this team could be very scary and a very lethal, elite team from a roster standpoint. Bronco's going to have to figure out his play, but I think he could take over that South for next year and definitely be at least a wild card team. But as I said, I mean, the Panthers, the Bucks, the Saints, the Falcons, it's a wide open division. But they just got to figure things out. I mean, Deion Jones? I mean, he's got so many pieces there in Atlanta that he could rely on. And again, if he just drafts well, and figures things out and then plays, strong strategic game. I mean, Desmond Ridder is struggling from a touchdown to interception ratio. But I think if he leans more on the running game with Derrick Henry, the ground and pound game, and then feeds the tight end and the receivers and gets more one-on-one rather than trying to force the ball with Ridder, that's a recipe for wins. So we'll see. But that's kind of where I'm going with my my team to bounce back next year. Maniac, welcome back. I think you were able to get back in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Was there anything that you wanted to fill in that you got cut off there on your bounce back teams?
Well, I talked about the Panthers, but the Bucks was also the other one that, and I kind of got on the back end of yours. You were talking about the Falcons. I think the Buccaneers losing Mike Evans, if he can get say pick up a free agent or in the off season that's something similar to Mike Evans, that possession big guy receiver that can go up and snag some of those balls. That Kev has always liked the deep ball, the end zone ball and stuff. So if he could pick up one of those guys, I think that would help his offense tremendously because he's been lacking in the department this season.
Absolutely. So you kind of missed it since he did have the Bucks as his bounce back team, and I was gonna have the Bucks, but for the sake of it, I was like, hey, well, I'll throw out the other NFC South team. So we kind of covered the NFC South all together there. Let's go ahead and move into our next topic, stats. Just talk about a few key stats if you have any. If not, that's fine. I am just going to throw out and lead on this category. I just noticed in a few games here, week 9, week 10, I thought it was really interesting. The Colts, week 9 versus New England, Derek Carr, 5 touchdowns. Thomas and Allen, which recently added Keenan Allen. Michael Thomas leading the OMFL in receiving. What a duo he's got. They have 3 touchdowns for Keenan Allen, 2 for Thomas. Watch out. This could be a duo to watch out in the playoffs and going forward as long as they can stay healthy. But Carr, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Also, New Orleans against, I believe it was Atlanta. Marshawn Lattimore had 4 interceptions. Pretty solid game. Cincinnati in week 9 versus Buffalo. Mello Carlisle, tight end, 7 catches, 135 yards, 2 touchdowns. Shocking because of the limitations with the non-receiver targets that I saw Carlisle have these kind of numbers. But it was impressive because it was against Bill, and I think Bill's been playing lights out, so I was kind of shocked to see that. As I've mentioned earlier on with my topics and talking about Bird, he finally got his offense figured out. He goes up and plays Trey and throws for 300 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks with Kyler Murray. And, since you mentioned getting the time to pass the ball, I've played Trey a handful of times, and I literally can't even, say hike, and I've already got 2 dudes in my face. So how Kyler Murray had time shocks me, but he did. And Bird's kind of gotten things rolling the last couple weeks, so that's interesting. And then this week, week 10, the last one I have is welcome back, McCole Hardman. 7 catches, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns versus Atlanta. What a big week for Mr. Hardman, and I know Priest is happy to have his burner back on the outside. Cincy, Maniac, do you guys got any stats that you wanted to discuss season or the last couple weeks?
Honestly, you covered some ones that I had there, and I'm gonna pass this off to Maniac. I don't have any key stats. I'm gonna be the boring one.
Okay, well, I've got a few, and these maybe surround a bit more about team stats wise. So, looking at the dailies page, and you notice that the points allowed per game. This is kind of the stat that stuck out to me was the Saints are actually the number 1 ranked defense in allowing points allowed a game with only 14 a game. There's a reason why he's 7-1. That defense is really playing lights out for him. And then if you look over and switch to the league stats and look over on the defensive side, and the Saints are number 1 on total defense, passing yard defense, rushing defense. They are all number 1. Only 196 yards given up a game from the Saints. Total passing yards, only 131 passing yards. And New Orleans also has the number 1 ranked rush defense, only allowing 65 yards a game on the ground. But we'll flip that over to the other side and look at the offensive leaders, and then you've got another interesting team that's atop in his division, the Indianapolis Colts, and Cincyberg, 395 yards in total offense a game. Now that's some outstanding offensive output. Um, Passing yards, not so much. from the Colts, but the Seahawks there with his rookie quarterback. To me, that's Jeff George the second. I think that's a big stat to look at. 277 yards a game from that rookie. And I don't think anybody thought coming out of the draft that that rookie would be probably the top passer in the league at this point. And then your rushing yards per game, the Indianapolis Colts with Taylor 159 yards on the ground. Taylor's tops in the league right now in the rushing category, leading the rushing title. So definitely, Cincy has a definite balanced attack there with the Colts, and that's helping him advance in his division.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the Saints. I mean, I knew that his defense was playing lights out, but wow, those are some numbers. I mean, you look at total defense yards per game, he's got, what, like 70 yards before the next team, which is D Money's team. I mean, that's unreal. And then I, look at it, and I'm like, the Bears? Wait a second, that's my team. I'm third in yards, second in passing, and I don't know where I'm at in rushing. It's got to be horrible because I can't find a way to win a game, and here I am on the defensive side of things. That's weird. But anyways, that's for another day, another topic. But yeah, that's some interesting stats there. We'll kind of keep an eye on those as we go forward. Let's turn it over to game of the week. Week 10, week 11, any unplayed game. Let's pick one game that you think is going to be the game of the week. Could be maybe the game to watch. Could be a game that could be an impact game for a big team or both teams. I'm going to start with you, Maniac. Go ahead and give us the game that you want to watch or have everyone tune into.
Okay, so my game of the week pick would be Week 11, the Cowboys versus the Giants. 5-3 Cowboys versus the 7-2 now Giants. The predicted score in daily showing the Cowboys win 25-23. Average points scored, both are scoring 28 points a game. The Cowboys are only giving up 18 points. The Giants giving up 22 points. They're both within 20 yards in passing offense together, with the nod going to the Giants with 251 over 234 for the Cowboys. Rushing yards are almost identical. I think this game is kind of depicts this division. It's just a hard nosed, blue collar, tough. You gotta grind out the win, and I think this is going to be the battle for possibly the wild card spot that's going to be available, possibly in this division. You know, if the Commanders don't falter and one of these guys pick up that top spot, I think this could possibly be a wild card team when it's all said and done from one of these two guys. But like I said, the stats on daily shows that it's just it's very even. Takeaways a game, they're both averaging 3 takeaways. I think this game is going to go down to the wire, possibly, maybe even. I've seen Dwayne and Colin go into overtime games, so I'm just going to say I'm looking for the Giants to actually pull an upset. Dwayne, don't hurt me because I love my Cowboys and I hate saying anything against the Cowboys, but I think the Giants are going to win this one 27-26.
Ooh, that'd be interesting because Collins been his MO is find a way to win, and he's done it multiple times, and he already snake bit the Cowboys early on this year, and so that'd be interesting to watch. Cincy, what is your game of the week?
My game of the week will take place this week in week number 10. It is going to be, I'm going back to them. I'm going to my flightless bird, Penguins. That one-loss Commanders team travels to Louisiana for some crawfish for that one-loss Saints. You know, the over-under right now is about, I don't know, maybe Maniac help me out, but I'm sure it's in the low 40s. I think he's on Daddy Leagues now.
Yeah,
But
let me
that's
pull
my
it up real
guess what
quick.
it is. Um, you know, I see this being a defensive battle. Everybody's gonna want to tune into this. Nate's gonna be broadcasting it, and we're gonna get to see him and all his reactions on each play. Those drop picks or those big bust out runs, or just talking in general, just catching up with him. It's always great to watch Nate on stream in his games. So if you haven't ever checked that out live, it's a lot better because then you can just tune in. But anyways, back to the game of the week. Um, so like Maniac was talking about in the key stats, Nate's across the board, number one defense so far in the OMFL, and defense gets you wins. Does it get you championships? Maybe, maybe not. You still need offense, but both these teams are middle of the league in offense so far. Um, we're gonna see if the Commanders can get Cook and Jones rolling against Nate's front seven. Um, but really, he's got a ball hawking secondary who's been taking care of business and getting a lot of turnovers in the last recent game. So we'll see, if the Commanders can take charge and come away with this big win. I see Commanders winning 24-17 with the under.
I am definitely looking forward to watching that game. I think, you mentioned defense wins championships, and Nate's defense is going to get I don't want to say his first test, but it's going to get a good test here against the Commanders because Cook and Aaron Jones and Terry McLaurin and Penguins is the elite offense. One thing that is interesting, I do believe Chase Young is out injured, and I don't think Nate has any big injuries. So, looking into that, I think that'll be interesting to watch those two teams battle it out. This game could play a huge role into the NFC seedings, especially as a top seed or top two seeds come the end of the season. The Saints do not have anybody on the injured list right now, and the Commanders are out Chase Young with a torn labrum for 2 more weeks. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm definitely looking forward to that. You guys took the 2 games, obviously, that I was going to talk about, which is okay because I had a couple games I back up, which is why I threw the ball and gave you guys the microphone first. I've got 2 games that I really like in Week 10, along with the Saints and the Commanders. The one game that I really liked in Week 11, Maniac, you already touched base on that, so I won't go there. My 2 games that I am going to talk about, and I'm only going to talk about one, but I'm going to at least call the other one out. Chiefs, Texans, Cowboys, Colts. I think both of these games have huge implications. Roger, you got things going upward. Three-game win streak. Chiefs, you're hot. This could be an interesting game. I want to see if Roger continues to stay hot and shocks. If Roger can keep things going, he could sneak his way into a wild card spot here in the AFC and at least put some pressure in against Cincy and the Colts for the division. I don't think the Titans or the Jaguars have a chance at the division outside or have a chance at the division. The Texans or the Colts are going to win this division and maybe both make the playoffs, with the other being a wild card if things play out that way. So I got the Chiefs and the Texans as a game to watch. But the game that I'm going to talk about is Dwayne and Cincy, Cowboys, Colts. I think this game is going to be really, really fun to watch. I'm looking forward to it. The reason I have this game marked is because Dwayne starts off, we've talked about this, slow start, and it was kind of shocking for me because I think he is such a old faithful, he just runs the ball, doesn't turn it over, plays good defense. It's just a recipe for success, and comes out of the gate, loses 2 games. D-Money, Colin, he's 0-2. then gets a sim win, huge win against the Eagles. And then here he goes on his little win streak. Ravens, Eagles, Browns, loses to the Commanders, and then beats the Panthers. Now he's getting into the thick of things, and his next like 4 games could literally determine his season. He's got the Colts this week. He's got the Giants next week. He's got the Bengals. Then he's got the Saints. Then he's got the Falcons. Then the Bears. Then the Commanders. Then the Bucks and the Steelers. Like I said, these next 4 games could determine whether he is in the running. And I think D. Wayne as a player could win all 4 of these games. But the way things are going and his opponents, Cincy, Colin, Little Koch, Nate, he could lose all 4 of these games too with the way those play, with the way his opponent has been playing. So I'm looking into the start of this 4-game stretch. The Colts and the Cowboys, must watch. Tune in, check this out. Daddy Leagues has the predicted score is 25-24 in favor of the Cowboys. But here's the thing that gets me. This rushing game for the Colts can control the ball. He's now got Keenan Allen with Michael Thomas. If Derek Carr continues to play hot with those two as a duo on the outside, can D. Wayne find a way to put pressure on Cincy and slow the running game down and stop those 2 outside guys? This game is interesting because I've watched it multiple times when D. Wayne was the top player in the league and doing his thing, and Cincy matches up with him and gives him a run for his money. Now that Cincy's got the roster, got the team, I think this, if I had to pick, I think the Colts win this game, but I think it's going to be a close one. I know. I just think the Colts are going to win. I think he runs the ball, and he's got the two-headed monster on the outside. And it's going to be an interesting game because both of these guys, I feel like, control the ball, don't turn the ball over, and we'll see what happens. So that's my game of the week. Colts, Cowboys, Week 10. We'll see what happens. It'll be a fun one to watch. We got a couple of good games to watch. Yes, it is. All right, so we got game of the week covered. Now, the fun things and the final topic for the show, as we are sitting at an hour and 18 minutes. We're going to wrap this up. MVP of the OMFL for the offense and for the defense. Give me your rapid fire picks quickly. Oh, look at the puppy there. Go ahead and give me your picks of the offensive MVP, defensive MVP of the OMFL, basically kind of at the midway point of the season. And you can give them a little, props on their stats or whatever you want. We're going to start with you, Cincy. What do you got?
All right, a little rapid fire. We got Offensive Player of the Year so far through 9 weeks. We're on week 10. I'm going with Breece Hall. He's second in yards. I think this is a big factor in why the Jets are producing. They through the years, he's always produced through his tight end, but I think now that he's got Breece Hall rolling and controlling on his offense, I think that's a big part of the reason why he's in the running for MVP, and he's showing his value in the backfield for Kobe. And then for defense, I'm going to roll over to old D Money here. We got, who we looking at here? We're looking at Drake Jackson from USC riding his Trojan horse to the end. He's got 13.5 sacks, so he's sitting tied for second in the league in sacks behind old TJ Watt there. But his big difference between him and the rest of the league is his tackles for loss. He leads the league with 27, and that's above Trey's Aiden Hutchinson, who that's all he talks about. So if he's better than Aiden, then he's got to be better than anyone in the league. So yeah, that's my quick fire. We got Breece Hall and Drake Jackson as my MVPs through 9 weeks.
Nice.
Nice picks. All right. Well, Maniac, what do you got for your MVPs?
Okay, I'm going on the offensive side for the MVP, most valuable player, the OMFL, through the halfway point. Jonathan Taylor, halfback for the Indianapolis Colts, the 99 overall. Taylor has been tearing it up. He's almost right, not quite, but he's nearing that 1,000 yard mark, 951 yards, 9 touchdowns. He's averaging 6.4 yards a carry, which handed off twice. You got a first down. That's pretty easy pickings. He's also got 148 points in fantasy for you fantasy freaks out there in the OMFL. So
Yes,
uh,
sir.
this this dude is producing, and quite frankly, that's he's the workhorse for the Indianapolis Colts.
Shocking, though. The shocking thing is he's got 3 fumbles. And you
Oh,
look and the other top like 8 backs, the only one that has a fumble is Brees Hall, and Jonathan Taylor's got 3. And then you have Clancy, Kamara, Chubb, Pollard, McCaffrey. Don't even have a fumble.
but
It's an interesting.
2 of those fumbles was in Buffalo, and I guarantee that was a bad weather game. So can't can't fault 2 of those on that because I really think the weather was a big factor in that one.
Man, and one of those, I was running free for a touchdown, and a 175-pound cornerback came behind me and stripped him. I was in shock. I about pissed my pants. I couldn't believe it. Old
He
Bill,
said, "I'm
that old
I'm
man's
gonna."
he's always got something up. He's always got something up his sleeve.
Took his lunch and ran away the other way. I mean, it
Yeah.
was.
He's got to run away from the cop speed, as old Madden 22 said.
Oh man.
On the
And with the
defense
defense.
defensive side of the ball here, um, I'm gonna go with New Orleans Saints, and I really want to say their whole defensive backfield, but Marshawn Lattimore with the 4 picks he just had in that game. He's also I'm looking on dailies. They don't give full stats for deflections, but just in the last 4 games, he's got 6 deflections. He's part of that defense that's number 1 in every stat in the OMFL, and he's just basically locked down one side of the field for Nate, and so he's my defensive MVP for the OMFL.
That's a nice solid pick there. Yeah, you were saying the end game is showing 7 deflections on the season and 6 picks total for Lattimore.
Sweet.
So my MVPs, I am going to give props where it's due. Priest, please don't get your head swollen too big.
Oh, you hear it swelling out.
Yeah, I can just hear it. His headset's not going to fit on his head anymore. But Aaron Rodgers, obviously the given here, leads the league in touchdowns, and he's got the 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's top.
Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah, it is usually the other way around. And then I think he's like top 2 or 3 in yards or so. But, he's just slinging the ball. And Hardman just came back, which is his deep ball threat. So it's only going to get worse for those that you play the Packers left in your schedule. Trust me, I'm one of them. I'm not looking forward to it, but it is what it is. But Aaron Rodgers is just on top of his game right now, throwing the ball and really doing his thing. And I just think that that is his reason for success. He's got Clancy in the backfield to counter and give him a little bit of a balance. Then he's got the rookie, or the start of the Madden, the rookie receiver. I can't think of his name at the moment. But then he's also got Hardman. He's got a good mixture of speed there at the receiver position. So Rodgers, I think, even though he's an old man, he's still living up to his MVP caliber. and Priest hasn't playing at a high level. So I've got that as my MVP of the offensive side of things for the OMFL. And then defensive
Quick question.
side.
Quick over-under, though, on your Aaron Rodgers pick, because I like that pick. Here we go. So he's got 9 games played. So he's got 9 out of 17 games. He's got 27 touchdowns. Over-under. Are we going to see 50 touchdowns? Are we going to see a 50 burger? This OMFL. What do you guys think?
So as I just said, I think if Hardman stays healthy, I mean, as you just heard earlier in the stats, 7 catches, 236 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think Hardman brings that and completes that offense. And yes, I think he could easily get to 50. Priest, if you hear this, please go after it, because that means I have more opportunities to pick you off. And that is the recipe that I want. Now, I may give up 6 touchdowns of McCole Hardman because I don't have a corner to cover that guy that fast. But, hey, we'll find out. I got to deal with Jameson Williams. I got to deal with McCole Hardman. I got all the fast people in my division, and I got all the slow corners. So it is what it is. But, yeah, Maniac, what are your thoughts? 50 burger?
I think it's possible for Priest, but word of caution to Mr. Priest, since he's kind of like found the holy water that my buddy Tony Bono had said on his podcast. I think he need. I think he needs to stay away from trying to chase stats, because that will be his downfall in the end if he does.
Yeah, that's and as Trey just said, of course, why would I leave Belton out of the speed chat? Of course. No, I'm not going to leave him out of the chat. 97, 99. You might as well just start a track team in Detroit, because they've got speed everywhere. And then I don't even understand.
Trying to Olympus or what?
Yeah, the 400 meter baton race here. Handed off to the other Olympic speed dude. But anyways, that's besides the point. We've got enough speed in Detroit, we got enough speed in Green Bay, and we got none in Chicago. That's why I'm 4-5, and that's why I'm going to be a rolled team here in a couple weeks, and it is what it is. My defensive MVP is he said it was the Detroit Motor Speedway for a reason. Let's see. So my defensive MVP I've got is Drake Jackson. Since you already talked about it, this guy's got the picture to go with his MVP performance. He's got like the beanie and all that. Like, how can you not pick this dude?
Have
like
a beanie. I can't believe it.
On the game he's got a whole picture. It's got like a beanie on and everything. I mean, it's like MVP written all over it. So 13 and a half sacks. He's got 27 tackles for loss. He's on the number 2 defense for yards given up. Like, in D-Money's year in, year out, always a tough team. This dude is a second-year player, and, I mean, he is just, like, performing like no other, and he's going to definitely be a staple for the Niners to come for the years. And I think Bosa, can obviously sail his way out of San Francisco, and they don't have to worry because they got Drake Jackson. This guy's a superstar. He's got the size, the speed, everything, and he's a force off the edge. And he is he's got a funny, like, size proportion, like a little tiny head, but it is what it is. You look at his little thing on the game, and he's got like this little like pencil head, and then he's got these big arms and everything. But yeah, whatever. He balls out in the game, so you got to know where he's at all times.
He wears a size 7 hat, apparently.
Yeah.
Tony Bono said, I don't know.
Probably like a 6 1/4, but they can't even make him that small. A use small flex fit. But
I mean, this guy's only making 1.6 mil this year. This is probably why D Money wins championships. He's got an 89 overall guy making defensive MVP plays and only paying him 1.6 mil.
Chump change.
Yep.
Chump change. So, hey, there you have it. MVP, defensive player, Jake Jackson. Watch out if you got the Niners. You got the rest of the Pro Bowl defense to look out for. But he is one guy to watch. I don't really have anything else. The other thing I was going to mention is it's interesting to see the injuries, but we are at an hour and 30 minutes, so we'll save that for another time. Trey's over here getting into the speed chat, and I can't keep up. It's too much, too fast.
Trey, where were you an hour ago, man?
Yeah. Priest is drinking his holy water and fell asleep, and it is now late in the morning, OMFL dark hours, but we appreciate Maniac joining us as a special guest. Do you have anything to wrap up the show with, Maniac?
Well, I just want to say thanks, guys, for letting me be on here with you guys, and had fun, and it's good to see that the OMFL is going strong. A lot of interesting things going on in the OMFL. Be sure to stay tuned to Anchor podcast with the Madden franchise podcast with Tony Bono, my good buddy. And he's also doing the OMFL news on Press Pass Live, so you can catch those during those events as well. So just be on the lookout for those. And, who knows? I think there's a deal in there where you guys can call in, and we'll try to get that going on for Tony and see what can happen from that.
Yeah, and hopefully we get to keep Tony Bono going, because I think he's a legend here in the OMFL. We love having him around. Maniac, we appreciate you joining us. We hope that you can join us again, and not be a special guest, maybe be a regular with us, as much as possible. But yeah, that wraps it up for me. I don't got anything else to talk about. My mouth is dry. I need some water, and I talk too much. But we're going to wrap it up with that. Until next time, watch those games that we called out. Make sure you guys are staying on top of your FPR. Also, one other thing that we did talk about last show was the gold sheet. Take a look at that and get prepared to partake in that next season. It's a good way to get some incentive points. And tune into the Press Pass Live, the Tony Bono OMFL News, and the Madden podcast that Tony Bono puts on. Lots of content with the OMFL. And once again, Maniac, we appreciate you. Cincy, you got anything?
No, I'm just going to go into town, find the nearest pew, and pray I can compete with Dwayne this week.
Well, I think if you want to do that, but I think it'll be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. There's a handful of games that I think that are going to be fun to watch. So I'm looking at that to see when those games are going to get posted and scheduled for. And I'm going to tune in. Until next time, down and distance in the OMFL. We appreciate you guys.
See ya.